Give us, Lord, another day and hear our prayer. Please, Lord, when
I think home is where I dream.
I just want to say thank you, Lord.
But I think freedom itself is a word. You can always be free from something in relation to something. You know, freedom is not existing as a category itself. It's not like an emotion. So you can, inside a structure, you can be free. So democracy is a structure which creates freedom. In case of art, I would say, of course, artistic freedom always needs a frame in which it can happen. So for me, my artistic freedom happens through the method I develop. And inside the method that I apply, I create freedom for myself. But it always has to stay inside a form to express itself into, yeah, maybe sometimes also free expressions. Well, my practice goes through different genres. I'm based in theater and performing arts and opera, and I do set and costume design as well as directing. I went into installation art, and I go from sculptures into painting. So I basically use all the medias that is existing. How would I describe it to someone who doesn't know my art? I think I usually go into some psychological and surrealistic fantasies that I take my ideas from. I'm based on the research on nightmares, basically. So my work is usually based on more horrific scenarios that appear in my nightmares, usually. And out of that, I create almost immersive worlds or installations or themes that you can walk into. So it's like you can enter into the worlds that I create. So maybe it's the art form of creating worlds. I'm not sure if my mind works in general in any logical context, but really based on my intuition. So usually when I wake up, I usually have the ideas because I dreamed of something and it's really concrete, but then it becomes blurry in like 5 minutes, and then I forget about the concreteness that I had the vision about. And this process of blurring in a concrete vision out creates spaces that is not logically explainable. So I start from a vision that appears and it becomes blurry, and then I fill it with my own logic. And usually I don't have a mind to understand it because it's more on an emotional level how I perceive the things that I create. I think I usually see the intellectual capacity after I finish the work. When I look at it, then I understand some things intellectually, but it comes more from a physical emotion, how I create. So I have a strong image in my mind and I don't question the intellectual capacity of it. I just take it as granted because it comes out of my vision. And then I try to make sense of it. And usually at the end it creates an intellectual concept. But I'm not someone who makes a conceptual draft in the beginning and then like fills it with this is not how I work. So I come from an intuitive place, but the intellectual capacity is always there. I think architecture is the frame often. So when we talk about freedom, for example, the architecture can create these barriers of how you define the freedom. And I'm amazed by architecture when I go into it because it does something to me. It protects me, it also opens, it also sometimes frightens me. So my work, especially my stage work, my set designs are usually based on architectural ideas or references that I put into it, because there's always something that I need to access. So I don't walk into an image, basically. I walk into architecture sometimes in the images I create. Well, reality is something that you perceive. So reality is not based on truth, as we know. There's a difference between the truth and the reality. So everybody has a reality. I have my own reality. So I look at you, you look at me. This is two different perspectives and two different realities. Theater has a central reality. So a collective perspective. So we sit all together and look at the same thing. So we take the same reality for the very moment that we perceive it. So this has the quality is to have a reflection, a collective reflection on something from one point of view, at least visually. So, but then it becomes more complex because, of course, from this perspective, people create their own realities. So this is the reception. And I think this is wonderful to have this in theater, that you just have this collective perspective on one image. Which details matter the most? I think the details itself it's the concept. Because I think deep form is created when every detail is perfect. So sometimes there can be little points somewhere destroying the entire thing. So I'm really a perfectionist when it's about looking at the details, because the details create the entire image. So I would actually say a lot of my works, especially the costume and set works I do, are a collection of details itself. So I actually work a lot with sounds, and my most preferred sound is the forest. I think forest is really interesting because it always inspired me. Because in the forest you have all the fantasies. The Gebrüder Grimm is a German fairy tale, brothers actually, and they often play in forests. So when you go into the forest, there is things that you don't see, but they happen in your head. And I love the sounds of, the difference between a night forest and a day forest. So I'm sorry I didn't take one of your examples, but I would say the forest is the best sound to create an openness and a secret somewhere. I also sometimes, for example, when I'm in a train or in an airplane, I just put noise cancelling speakers and then I put a forest. I have a big collection of forests. So then I just listen to forest, and then the stress just goes away that you have in an environment where it's really, there's not a lot of space, but it just opens it and then you can relax. Sometimes it's better than listening to music actually. I think memory is something manipulative. So memory always becomes a narration, it becomes a story. So memory is something I create after something happened. And there is this so-called collective memory that we always talk about, but I think memory is something that is more controlling us than the other way around. I think a personal story can become a universal narration. It should become, if you do art actually, because I think if it remains personal, then it's too small. So I think to think from a personal standpoint to create a general idea is the more interesting method. And for example, in Venice, in my biennial work at the German Pavilion, I took a very personal and concrete story based in my own family, but then transformed it into something that is more about labor itself and about exploitation of physics and of the body itself. So I think it values the personal dimension more if it becomes a universal narration. So I don't think it's a betrayal when you take a personal thing and it doesn't make it smaller when it transforms into a bigger idea. I mean, not if you look at my work and if you know me personally, I think you will recognize me as a person, but it is not in a way of, I'm not someone who talks permanently about his biography. I actually only showed something concrete out of my biography, and that was the work in Venice. But before that, and I did more than, 60 productions of theater and opera works in my life, I would never use my own biography because I don't think it's interesting for a bigger audience to talk about what happened to me in my childhood, whatever. But the work is always based on what I experienced. So it is for me very personal, even if it looks really fantastic maybe, or surrealistic, if it has a form that is not realistic. I mean, the concept of truth is itself difficult to analyze because, I mean, how do you describe with words the word of truth? It's like, how do you describe chaos? Chaos is a thing that is actually, shouldn't be able to put it into a form. I think when you put truth into a form, in a language form, it becomes religion. So, and religion is the opposite of truth. And that's why I think what fiction can do, it can at least show the complexity of how impossible it is to define truth. Truth is something that you seek for, so it's like, it's an energy that you want to reach. But the more you try to get it, the further you get from it. And we need this energy in order to develop intellectually. But we should always be careful to put it into a word and define it. So I think the work is based on a memory of myself in my childhood, actually. But I'm not sure if it happened this way, or how much fiction and how much happened in my dreams. And what I like about it, it has its own reality, and it has inside its own truth, I would even say. But as I said before, memory is fiction. So memory is something we create, we define. Therefore, the memory stays as a fictional narration for me. My body is an archive, as everybody has an archive in its body. The brain itself is an archive, and I think the brain, if you probably would go in, zoom it, it's an architecture itself. So it has chambers, and it has different regions, and it has different spaces. It's a landscape, actually, also, a landscape full of architecture. You know, when we dream things, usually, most people don't even notice their dreams. Every person has, I think, averagely 20 dreams in a night, and they're usually between 3 to 7 seconds. So a 7-second dream is a very long dream, but you perceive it much longer when you dream it. So you can sometimes dream entire movies in 2 seconds, but because it is so fast, a lot of things just happen inside. So the capacity to think is in your dream reality is a more upper human experience than we do when we are in our daily lives. Because I cannot process so much how much I process when I dream. So the journey that I go when I go inside is huge. You know, sometimes I think the world is big, or let's say not the world, the earth is big. It is, but I think inside me is much bigger than the geographics of this planet. So the size, when I go inside into my eye, if my eye would turn to the other side and would look inside myself, there's a huge landscape of architecture that I can walk in, and I think it's probably as big as the entire universe is. It's endless. So something that becomes smaller can become endless smaller, as something that becomes bigger can become endless bigger.